Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corn Productions with my co-host Stacie here to talk about Beetlejuice. This is the continuation of Halloween month.
Yeah, and this is the original Beetlejuice we are covering, the 1988 Beetlejuice.
Yes, and I can't, that's one thing that shocked me when I was actually looking at the Internet Movie Database page. Like, this movie came out in 1988?
Yeah, we're old, Dave.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, this is a continuation of Halloween month. Happy Halloween.
Happy October.
Yes.
Now, I do want to put a disclaimer right here at the top because we are recording this well in advance.
Right.
We're actually in July, so we're time traveling right now.
Yep.
By the time anybody's listening to us talk about this, it's going to be October. And Beetlejuice has been released in the world at this point in time.
Right.
Now, back here, time traveling back 3 months for us, it has not been released yet.
And we have not had a chance to see it.
So we have not seen the sequel, Beetlejuice, which is coming out in 2024. It's coming out, I forgot to write the date down. It's coming out in the beginning of September. Mm-hmm. So as of when we are speaking to each other right now, we have not seen it. There's only been like one teaser trailer. Not a lot is known about it. When you're listening to this, most people listening to this has already seen it.
Yep.
Or is listening to this in preparation to go see it because Beetlejuice is on your mind. So if we seem like we don't know things, it's because those things don't exist yet.
Right.
Time travel.
By coincidence, it seems like we don't know things because we don't.
We don't. Yeah. So this is strictly about the original movie. And again, the new movie's not out yet for us when we're speaking, but it is out now, and I hope everybody watches it and enjoys it.
Yeah, all right. So, the movie's description reads as follows. The spirits of a deceased couple are harassed by an unbearable family that has moved into their home and hire a malicious spirit to drive them out. The movie is a story by Michael McDowell and Larry Wilson. McDowell died on December 27th, 1999 at the age of 49. That's absurd. It's absurdly young. With a screenplay by Warren Scarron. 9 writing credits for him, including Batman. And he died on December 28th, 1990 at the age of 44. There's a lot of misfortune that takes place within these credits, including some actors that we'll talk about. But,
yeah.
And, one of the few people who didn't die young in this movie was a person who was already credited as Old Man. So, anyway. The movie was directed by Tim Burton, 42 directorial credits for him, including Batman and Batman Returns, Edward Scissorhands, Mars Attacks, Alice in Wonderland, and Big Fish, and of course many more. Yeah. We're not in obscure territory. This is a famous director,
right? And of course, this is a cult classic film.
Oh yeah.
I found it a little difficult to take notes on a film that everybody knows.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. So before any further, I'll tell you a couple of things. One, this is not a sport free podcast. So if you haven't watched the movie, I highly recommend you go and check it out, and then come back and give us a listen.
Yeah, and who are you if you've never seen Beetlejuice, and how are you here?
Well, perhaps it's a young person that enjoys listening to us, but hasn't actually seen this movie. Because, it's possible. Sure, you never know.
Sure.
Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms of this podcast now we go on, please follow and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to our channel. Okay, so I have a shout out.
All right, what you got?
All right, Carla Mack. Carla Mack is the one who suggested that we do this one in the first place.
Okay, yeah.
And we took her up on her suggestion. Carla Mack, of course, being the legendary voice actress who also appeared in the X-Files and Harsh Realm, 2 shows that I ended up watching. And, of course, I ended up talking to her and have been talking to her ever since. So, here we are.
You got a wedding date planned yet?
Not yet. But, discussions are ongoing. All right, so, anyways, Stacie, your thoughts on this week's movie.
So, I feel like I should state that I'm not some hardcore fan of this. Again, Beetlejuice has a cult following. That's not us. We're not doing this because we're super fans of Beetlejuice. To be honest, I hadn't seen this movie since I was a child.
Yeah, I don't recall the last time I saw it. It's been a while.
I feel like I've only saw it when I was like 6 or 8 or however old I was when I watched it. And I never watched it again. Mm-hmm. So I went into this week kind of like I do some of these other movies we're covering this month. And I watched it the first time like I'd never seen it before. I watched it just to watch it, and then I watched it again to take notes. And I'm glad I did it that way because I was really confused watching this movie because it's just not what I remembered. I think my big takeaway is this movie's a lot less than I thought it was.
Ah, okay.
Like, not a lot actually happens in this movie. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Like, once you get down to it. And, like, I didn't remember most of it. Like, the details of this, I was like, nope, I could not have recited this movie to you before rewatching it this week. Now, I thought I could have before I did that.
I can recite moments to you, but there's definitely a lot.
So, like, my memories as a child included, like, the singing. I remembered all that. The like, orange juice. Remembered that. I remembered the sandworms.
Yep.
I always thought the sandworms were Beetlejuice.
Oh, really?
Like, I thought those were him. Like, the snake's him. I thought that sandworms were Beetlejuice. No.
Nope.
That's not a thing. I don't know why I thought that. I mean, I guess just because they're black and white striped.
I guess so.
They're visually similar to him, but, like, most of the things in the film are. Yeah, I don't know. I was just like, I remember this being more, more
involved
pomp and circumstance to this.
Gotcha,
and it's really just like it's not what I thought it was.
So this is a Tim Burton film.
Yeah.
And he's known for oddball characters,
right?
Oddball visuals. You either like that kind of thing or you don't.
Yeah,
he's an acquired taste.
And I feel like I maybe don't.
Okay. That's certainly,
I feel like going into any Tim Burton story, but specifically we're talking about this one, like there's a certain level of nonsensicalness that you have to just accept, right? Like there's moments where it's like that doesn't make any sense in the world, but like you got to ignore that because it's the world of Tim Burton,
right? So
you just kind of roll with it.
And
you got to do that here.
I will say that Tim Burton, some of the movies I mentioned, Batman and Batman Returns, I have fond memories of those. I also am a big fan of Big Fish. Did you ever see that movie?
I don't think I did.
Well, it's basically the least kind of Tim Burton movie of them all, but it's kind of more of an emotional story, and it has like Ewan McGregor in there and Albert Finney. And actually, there was an actress that was regularly in American Horror Story, Jessica Lange, in that movie. And yeah, so that's a pretty good movie to check out if you haven't at some point. But yeah.
What are your thoughts? I don't think you've told us.
No, I don't think I have. So, I enjoy it. Yeah, I do also remember this being a bigger movie than it turned out to be. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because, like, it's a decent movie. It's a classic movie. I do happen to like some of Tim Burton isms. He does some things with stop motion.
Yeah,
he still does. That's not typically done anymore. Alec Baldwin, he, I know him mostly now as kind of like playing the a-hole characters. He's not usually playing the bland nice guy that he is in this movie.
Sure.
So yeah, it's a decent film, if you're looking for just something diverting. But like I said, it's Tim Burton. You either like his style or you don't.
Yeah, I see that.
He's very much an acquired taste as a film director goes. But yeah, this is like one of the more famous things that we're covering here. We mostly covered like really obscure movies.
So we're covering a lot of movies this month that nobody's seen.
Yeah.
Most of the movies we've picked specifically because of somebody in the movie. And how they relate to like the shows that we cover here on the TV podcast.
Right.
This one we picked specifically just because we wanted to bring in some classics.
Right.
Although we do have a couple of really cool connections that
we noticed.
That just kind of happenstance to be there. Now, I was talking about this before we started recording, so I'll get into it now just a little bit. One of the things that we do on this when we break down a show or a movie is we go through the entire cast. We talk about the people in the movie, right? And we want to pay honor to all of the actors, and we like to mention like some of the other things that they've been in that are on their credits
down
list.
To the most obscure actor that you've never heard of and never will see again.
Yeah, and you know why? Because those tend to be the people that we end up like meeting and being friends with.
Right. Yeah.
And we appreciate the little guys. We appreciate them and what they bring to media. So we like to just give shout outs to all of the actors in a project. But so I was doing those notes for this film.
Yeah.
going through the cast. And one thing I appreciated is IMDb for this one has the credits in order of appearance.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
That was definitely helpful.
That was so helpful that I was able to just keep them in order and go down the list. Because it helps you pick out who's who. Because sometimes you're trying to like match up a cast list to the actual story, and you're like, who is this? Like, what is going on right now? I don't know who these 6 people are. They were in the movie somewhere.
Right.
When it's in order of appearance like this, which not a lot are anymore. Like, I think it was more common, you know, in older media to do that. It made it so easy to be like, oh, we covered this scene, we covered this scene, we covered that scene, we've met this person, and as I'm going through, you're going to see that I'm going to be much quicker at grabbing these than I am sometimes because they're not in order usually. Right. And I'm like, wait, that person's on this 2-page list of cast somewhere. So yeah, that was very helpful. But no, what I was going to say is I found it really challenging to write my cast notes for this because we have huge names. Yeah. Like you mentioned, Alec Baldwin.
Gina Davis, Michael Keaton.
And I'm like, do I pick out things from these people's IMDb's to talk about? Because how do I do that? They have cast lists of, you know, their credits are like hundreds. Yeah. They're famous for so many things.
Yeah. I would say that you would stick to the things that you personally know them from most.
Yeah, and I'm going like...
That's what I tried to do.
I'm going like, this is weird, trying to like write, you know, because usually we're like, oh, this person was in one episode of X-Files, and then one episode of this other random show that I've seen but nobody else has heard of. Right, yeah. And, you know, maybe they did background in something that we've got a story about. And now it's like, oh, you know, it's this person that's a household name. Right. But then, in between those, because we're going in order of appearance, not... like a cast bill. Yeah. In between them is like these characters that it's like, oh, this person has 3 credits. Right. Yeah. So it's like I was bouncing back and forth between these very different styles of how we talk about people. And I just found that really challenging. Yeah. To like know what to put in my notes for them. Gotcha. And it was a little bizarre. Like, this is probably the most like cult classic thing we've ever attempted to talk about. There's that ever on our channel.
Like I said, like we have big names in this that we don't usually swim in those waters. Right. We're like usually in more obscure
We're like
waters.
Usually introducing you to people who are just up and coming, or we're talking about like classic Quantum Leap episodes where people's careers have, you know,
come and gone basically. Right. Yeah.
And this is a little different. This is actually very different.
All right. So do we have anything else to say before diving in?
Why don't we just go in and we're going to go through the movie? And if you've never listened to us before, because you're only here because you're a super fan of Beetlejuice, explain a little bit of how we do things. We go scene by scene. We're going to talk about the entire film in order of what happened. And like I said, we're going to hit on these actors while we go and talk about them. And we're going to talk about our thoughts and feelings and reactions to the scenes and have a discussion as we go.
Yep. All right. So let's get into it. All right, so the movie begins panning through what appears to be a neighborhood, which turns out to be a very fancy model created by Adam, played by Alec Baldwin. He has 150 acting credits, 23 producing credits.
Oldest of the Baldwin brothers.
Yes, he was in the movie The Hunt for Red October, Aloha, The Departed, and Ghosts of Mississippi. And yeah, he was Jack Ryan he was the original Jack Ryan in The Hunt for Red October before Harrison Ford took over the role. Sure. He's soon joined by his wife, Barbara, played by Gina Davis, 51 acting credits for her, including The Fly, which is a movie I think maybe we could try to see, look into. Maybe we can do that for a future Halloween movie month at some point. A League of Her Own.
A League of Her Own, of course, Thelma and Louise.
Yep, The Long Kiss Goodnight with Samuel L. Jackson. She's...
Gina Davis.
Yeah.
She's Gina Davis.
Right. She was also like the president at one point in a series whose name I completely... Commander-in-Chief, I think was the name of the series.
I don't know that one.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a model of the town, and the actual town is Winter River, Connecticut, which is a fictional town. From other context clues, I take it's supposed to be like in the southern tier somewhere. We're not too far from New York.
Yeah, that really surprised me, though, that we were in Connecticut. I did not realize that Beetlejuice took place in Connecticut.
Right? Yeah. Like, I was like, okay, where are we? Oh. Like, yeah, okay, because we live in Connecticut, anyone who doesn't know that.
Yep. So, they are very clearly a very young, happy couple. They're interrupted when Jane drives up, played by,
Jane Butterfield's played by Annie McEnroe.
Okay, because my note cut off. It just says Anne is McEnroe. I'm like, what the heck?
Annie McEnroe.
Okay.
She has 26 acting credits, including Wall Street and The Howling 2.
She was also in Born on the 4th of July, and she came back for the Wall Street sequel, Wall Street Money Never Sleeps.
All right.
She wants the couple to sell her house. She's turned down by Barbara this time. They take turns apparently doing this.
She's got an offer on the house. And It sounds like she comes every week with offers on this house that they don't want to sell. The house is not for sale, but this realtor keeps coming. This time the offer is for $640,000, which doesn't sound like a lot. But I didn't do the conversion. I usually would have done that, but it must have been a lot.
I'm sure it was.
Because this is a big fancy house, and we're in Connecticut, and that house is probably worth $3 or $4 million at least right now.
So after she takes a subtle dig at Barbara for not having a family, she does a stalkerish move of peeking in on the garage window and trying to get Adam to agree to sell the house, but he of course also turns her down.
And we learn later that Jane is a relative of theirs. We don't know that now, and it's kind of like, who is this lady, and why is she so pushy? She is related to them. We never find out exactly how she's related to them, but that's why.
Right.
She's trying to convince her family, like, hey, sell your house, please.
So they head off to the store. Adam suggests trying again to have a family, jokingly.
Oh, yeah, okay, so they're going to the store because at the beginning, we learned they're on vacation.
Yep.
And they've got 2 weeks off. They own the store.
Right.
This is Hardware Store's this is their store, and they're taking a 2-week vacation, which is kind of weird to me. You're just closing the store for 2 weeks. Do you not have an employee that can run it for 2 weeks? But yeah, it must be a very small town. So they're what they're celebrating is they are taking this vacation, and they give each other gifts because they're going on vacation. I thought that was weird. So she gave him tongue oil, which I had to look up. It's basically the same. It's similar to like polyurethane. It's a wood finish.
Okay.
So he's a hobbyist. He's building this model.
So you don't put it on your tongue.
No.
Okay.
It's TUNG.
Okay.
Tongue oil.
Gotcha.
And it's to finish the wood. So what they're going to the store for is he needs a new brush to use on the tongue oil.
Okay.
So she gave him tongue oil. He gave her new wallpaper because she's still decorating the house. It was wallpaper for the guest room, which makes it so sad what happens in a little bit.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's why they're going to the store to pick up a paintbrush, and he owns the store.
Gotcha.
That's why he just kind of goes in and like takes stuff off the counter.
That's a little detail that I missed.
You missed, yeah. The name of the store is Maitland Hardware. They are the Maitlands.
Okay. So outside the store, Adam briefly runs into Old Bill.
First he runs into Ernie.
Ernie?
Yeah, we're going to go in order here.
All right.
He runs into Ernie, waves hello to him. Ernie's played by Maurice Page. This is actually his only credit. So not a lot to say about Ernie, but we got him. Okay. And then he meets Old Bill.
Played by Hugo Stranger, who had 24 credits for him, including Psycho 3, a couple episodes of Highway to Heaven, and an episode of The Twilight Zone. Almost all of his credits were some variation of Old Man.
Yeah. I actually have it as Psycho 2 he was in, not 3.
Oh,
so
okay.
One of us is right.
Okay.
He was also in Copacabana.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he is the barber who works, his barber shop's right next door to the hardware. So, him and Adam must speak to each other a lot, right? So he starts telling this story. It's kind of a humorous scene where he starts telling this story. Adam goes into the store, does what he needs to do, and comes out, and Old Bill is still telling his story. He doesn't even realize that Adam wasn't there. And, then they just kind of wave goodbye to each other. And that was it for Old Bill.
Yep.
We have a lot of quick ones in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Quick
absolutely.
credits.
So on the way back home, they swerve to avoid hitting a dog. They go through a barn tunnel like thing.
It's a covered bridge.
Right.
A barn tunnel like thing. Yes, it's a covered bridge.
Okay. So I wasn't actually sure what those are called. We have at least one of those.
We have a lot of them in Connecticut.
Yes, we do.
I think that's what Connecticut's famous for.
Right.
Maybe because of this moment. Maybe that's why covered bridges are a big deal. I don't know.
Okay, so they're basically hanging by a thread, literally. There's a board, and the dog is standing on it.
The dog's standing on it like a teeter-totter. And very, very unrealistically, this 15-pound dog moves. And that was enough to shift the weight of this 2-ton car.
And the couple go,
They go splat.
Yeah, they go splat. They find themselves back at the house, unaware that they are in fact dead. Adam says he doesn't remember how they got back there.
And the fireplace is on. They don't remember turning the fireplace on.
He goes outside and finds himself in a desert about to be attacked by some huge creature until Barbara pulls him back and says something along the lines of being gone missing for hours.
Yeah, he's been gone for 2 hours. It was seconds for him, and she grabs him by the collar and pulls him back. I'm a little confused how that works. If he's been gone for hours, and we learned during that time that she's been, like, exploring the house, she learned they don't have reflections, she found the handbook during this time. How does she grab him then and pull him back if, you know, she did all this and he's been gone for hours?
I was kind of confused by that.
Yeah, but she grabs him by the collar and pulls him back. 2 hours have passed, so we learn that time passes differently in the real world and in the afterlife realms where they were in the desert.
So Barbara notes that they do not reflect in the mirror, and there's a book, the Handbook of the Recently Deceased, and they realize that they are not alive.
Yeah, it took them a while.
Yeah.
It took them a while, but they picked up on it now. Hey, guess what? We didn't survive the crash.
Well, you know,
that's not good news.
Yeah, as Haley Joel Osment once said, you know, the dead do not know that they are dead.
I guess.
So they read the book, but it's not very helpful.
Yeah, they quickly prove they don't know how to read, apparently, because they don't understand anything happening in this book. He says it reads like stereo instructions.
We cut to an unseen person reading a paper looking for a job when he sees a newly deceased couple, Adam and Barbara. This, of course, is the Beetlejuice of the title, played by Michael Keaton. 91 credits for him. He's played Batman in the Tim Burton films. He was in the movie Spotlight, The Other Guys, and he reprised the role of Batman in the recent Flash movie. And of course, he reprised the role of Beetlejuice in a new film that we have yet to see.
Right, he is in that. He's also a voice in Cars. I found that interesting.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Do you know what tidbit I learned while looking him up that I didn't know this? He actually got his start as a production assistant on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He worked in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood for
That's funny.
I didn't write down the number. I think it was like 60-something episodes he worked on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in 1975.
Oh, wow.
That's where he started.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting tidbit.
So the couple is spending time in the attic. Barb is trying to read the book, but it's not helpful. Jane drives up. She's
upset that it's very dusty and she can't clean because the vacuum's in the garage and they can't get to the garage.
But there's no duster up there. What do you need a vacuum cleaner to clean up the dust?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, what is she talking about as dusting? It's not the floor, is it? It'd be like...
I can tell Dave's never done housework before. Where do you think the dust goes? You got to get rid of it. You vacuum it up to, like, throw it away. I mean, if you use a duster, the dust is still in the room.
Right, okay. So, anyway, moving along. Jane drives up. She's clearly mourning.
They're in, like, funeral garb, so it's the day of the funeral. She's got her daughter with her.
She has a credit, correct?
Yeah, she's just credited as Little Jane. I don't know if Jane's actually her name, but Little Jane is played by Rachel Middleman, and this is her only credit. Rachel Middleman plays Little Jane.
Adam tries to call out to her, but she, of course, can't see him.
Because this is rule number 2 in the book, which says that the living usually won't see the dead.
Adam and Barb end up waking up from sleeping, and we see a kooky family moving in. The wife is Delilah or Delia? Delia, played by Catherine O'Hara. She has 118 credits, recently showed up in 3 episodes of The Last of Us, was in the movie Orange County with Tom Hanks' son Colin and Jack Black, and, of course, the Home Alone movies.
Of course, Home Alone, Schitt's Creek, which I didn't appreciate until watching this week, how much the character of Moira Rose is the same as the character of Delia. Like, they're the same person.
Yeah,
She basically reprised this role for Schitt's Creek.
I kind of think that she plays basically the same version of the character that she played in this movie, like, over and over. It seems like she kind of acts the same in every movie. It's basically like she's playing herself.
I don't know. I don't know about that, but definitely I saw it here.
Because she was definitely a version of that character in Orange County.
I didn't watch that.
Yeah.
She also voiced Sally in Nightmare Before Christmas. Another Tim Burton project.
Yes. So,
and she's reprising her role for Beetlejuice as well.
Someone who's not reprising the role is the husband, who's clearly the person who is the reason why they're there.
Right, Charles.
Played by Jeffrey Jones. He was the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was in Howard the Duck and The Devil's Advocate. And he has 72 credits for him. He will not be in the sequel despite still being alive because, unfortunately, he's been accused of things that I'm not going to get into, but they are not good.
From what I understand, based on the single trailer we've seen so far, again, time travel people, we're in the past right now.
Yep.
Is that the movie, the Beetlejuice movie, starts with Charles' funeral. Charles just died, is where they're setting the story.
And, also, I'm bringing up Jeffrey Jones and the fact that he got himself into some trouble. He's probably never going to appear in another major production again. Also, Alec Baldwin, also got himself into legal trouble on the set of a movie called Rust. There was an incident where someone died because a gun was loaded.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
I don't quite understand why he would be in legal trouble for that, because it's not like it would be
one of those just questionable situations.
I think it was a freak accident.
I don't think I recall how that situation
occurred,
wrapped up.
Yeah, no, I think it's still ongoing.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it would seem like that would be the prop department's responsibility,
think so.
and not the actors.
Right.
But I don't really know a whole lot.
I feel bad for him.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
if anything, can you imagine?
Yeah. And the reason I'm bringing this up is it's just more evidence for me that this movie is kind of cursed, because a lot of people either die young or end up in legal trouble. Like Winona Ryder, who we're going to soon meet, she got herself into trouble. She did that whole shoplifting thing a long time ago.
Sure. She got out of it, though.
Yeah.
She pulled through.
Yeah, so the movers are played by Mark Ettinger. 12 credits for him. Nothing I recognize.
He was... he's a lot of political credits, I noticed. He played Joe Kennedy Sr. in American Dynasty's The Kennedys.
Okay. And
he played both Reagan and Lincoln in Race for the White House.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
The other is J.J. Saunders, 55 credits for him, including an episode of Columbo, Married with Children, and Knight Rider. He died on January 5th, 2016, at the age of 74.
Yeah, he had a prolific career. He actually... his credits ranged from 1973. He was in a film called Slaughter's Big Ripoff, with his last credit being in 94, Tammy and the T-Rex. That's a pretty, expansive career right there.
It is, absolutely.
For someone who's credited as moving man #1.
So in comes her daughter, Lydia, being carried on one of the couches by the movers. She's played by Winona Ryder, 69 credits for her. She was in Girl Interrupted, 42 episodes of Stranger Things, Alien Resurrection, and Little Women, which is a play that I actually was a part in.
Oh, were you?
Yes, I was the old man, the father. Yes, back in high school. Yeah,
I think I missed that one.
Yeah.
She, of course, was also in Edward Scissorhands, Mermaids with Cher. So many things.
Yeah,
She's had a giant career, of course. Everybody knows who Winona Ryder is.
Yeah.
And she's reprising, of course, for Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I think she's pretty much the star of that movie.
Well, between her and Jenna Ortega.
So who's not reprising their roles is Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis.
Yes,
that's been confirmed.
They are not returning, and the big reason is because their characters shouldn't have aged.
Right.
Now, Michael Keaton gets away with it because, he's
Beetlejuice, and he's under makeup.
Such heavily makeup.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice is like 1,000 years old or 800 or whatever.
Yeah.
So, they can get away with it with him. But yeah, the Maitlands, it'd be hard to make them look like they haven't aged a day.
Right.
I am curious how they explain their absence.
Yeah.
That's the thing I'm probably most curious about, because we're in the same house.
Right.
We're with the Dietzes. They're supposed to be there for 125 years. That point is well established.
Yes.
Where are they?
Right. Maybe. Yeah.
I'm sure it'll tell us.
Well, hopefully they don't say something bad.
Everybody watching this, you probably already know. So.
Right. Yep. So Adam and
we moved into the house.
Yeah. Adam and Barb are not thrilled with their new intruders. Charles starts to relax when Otho, played by Glenn Shadix, 91 credits for him, including Demolition Man. I remember that appearance. Heathers, which also had Ryder in it, and an episode of Cheers. He also has lots of voice work.
Tons of voice work. So much. I was a little impressed with how much voice work he had.
He died on September 7th.
Including, he's the mayor in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
He died on September 7th, 2010, at the age of 58. Once again, pretty young.
Pretty young, yeah.
He explores the house, opens a closet, and we think they're reacting to Barbara, who's pulled off her face.
Right, because, okay, so the ghosts have decided they want these people out. They're gonna scare them away. They apparently have missed the fact that we've been told multiple times already that people can't see them.
Yeah.
So, like, doing things with your body is not going to scare them. I don't know. I'd start, like, throwing chairs and stuff.
Right.
They're not being very good ghosts. They suck. They have not read the handbook.
Nope. Yeah, they are not very good ghosts at all. Meanwhile, the pair are spray painting, like what colors they're gonna paint the house.
Right. Adelia and Otho are.
Yep.
They're planning redecorating. He's their interior decorator. They're here to fix this house, which she thinks is just horrid, which we know Barbara's worked so hard on, and it reminded me of another movie we talk about this month, spray painting on the walls.
Yes. Yep. So they continue to try and haunt the place as they talk about how they're going to gut the place to make it Delia's own. I don't really like Catherine O'Hara's shouting in this scene.
She's very over the top, this character. A little too over the top. I'm very curious how Delia and Charles ended up together.
Yeah.
Because Charles, I feel like he'd fit in with the Maitlands just fine.
He probably would. Except for the room that Charles is currently occupied in, they're gonna just change every room in the
he
house.
agrees to let her remodel the house, but leave the library alone. This is going to be his domain, and he wants it just the way it is. Also, in that closet you mentioned, important to note that we found the wedding clothes of the Maitlands, the wedding dress, and the tux that Adam wore to his wedding are in that hall closet, because of course that comes back.
That is a very important plot point. So Adam runs upstairs to lock the attic. Well, he's missing.
He's
his head.
headless, because again they're trying to scare them.
Right.
So like the last scene was Barbara was kind of standing over Adam with his severed head in her hand. Now, of course, they couldn't see them, but shouldn't they have been able to see the knife she was holding? She's holding a knife. Shouldn't that be a floating knife in the air?
It should be.
And shouldn't that alarm them a little bit?
I would think
these
so.
These people are pretty dense if they don't see the knife floating in the air.
So Barbara cries, "What good is it being dead if she can't haunt people?" She tries to leave the house, but ends up in the same desert area as Adam. Adam goes with her, and they avoid the worm creature and get back to the house via the door.
Yeah, and this is the, I think, where we get to see the sandworm the most. We didn't get as big a shot of him the first time. And of course, he comes back at the end of the movie. But this is where I'm looking at him and I'm like, oh yeah, why is that not Beetlejuice?
Right. The Dietzes eat dinner, and I'd say Lydia is emo, but the rest of her family is just as strange.
Well, so her character is kind of been said as being like the first time that an emo has been presented in mainstream media. And I've actually seen her talking about this. She says, I didn't invent emo. Like she wasn't the first. Lydia wasn't the first character, but it was definitely the first mainstream media, the first time that it's being like presented like that in a big way. Mm-hmm. So she's the first famous emo character.
Right. Lydia and Charles want to keep the house as it is, but Delia wants to get rid of everything.
Everything. The furniture truck's coming, and she wants every single thing in the house to not be in the house anymore. All she wants to replace the house with these crazy statues that she makes.
There's a flyer about Beetlejuice that catches the couple's eye, but they go back to the book once more, which tells them, when in doubt, draw a door. And meanwhile,
meanwhile, Jane arrives. Is that where you're going?
Lydia's taking... I think I must... Oh, yeah, I think that must be, I have that note in the wrong place. Lydia's taking...
Well, they're kind of jumping back and forth a lot during this little tidbit. We're seeing, what the Maitlands are doing. We're seeing what the movers are doing. They're bringing the statues in. Jane comes back, and she gives Lydia a skeleton key. This is the key to the house.
Ah, yes, okay.
And she's like, give this to your dad. Of course, Lydia's not going to give it to her dad. She's going to go investigate because she noticed something hinky going on in the attic.
Yeah, actually, all right. So Lydia's taking pictures when she notices Adam and Barb hiding in the attic.
That's where you were.
I got mixed up.
Yeah, so she sees them. She doesn't know what she saw, but she saw them.
Yeah.
And so she gets the skeleton key, and she of course is going to use that to her own advantage.
See, I confuse this with another moment that happens later after this, but
Gotcha.
Yeah, so she tries to get into the attic, but they stop her. They basically hold the door shut. They see Beetlejuice commercial.
Yeah, he puts a commercial on the TV. Now he's what's it called? Bioexorcist.
Ah, yes.
So his job is to get rid of people, which is what they want. Seems like a great fit at this point. He's trying to get them to hire him, and of course he's trapped right now.
Right.
And needs help getting out.
So they do so, and much to their surprise, it works.
Make the door, that is.
Oh yeah, make the door. Okay. Man, my notes. What the heck?
I think my notes and your notes are just a little off sync, so we're confusing people, I think.
Okay.
And each other. So they draw a door. They draw a door. In case of emergency, draw a door. They draw a door, and they make a portal into the afterworld realm, right?
Yep.
They end up in this waiting room, and this is where we get all the fun credits here.
Yes. Yes. They go into this dead person's waiting room. It's full of Tim Burton off-the-wall visuals. The receptionist is played by Patrice Martinez. She has 13 credits for her, including 3 episodes of Magnum P.I., The Three Amigos, and Zorro. The 90s TV show that I didn't even know existed. I didn't know that TV show existed.
I don't remember this, but there was 89 episodes of it, and she was in all 89, so she was a regular.
What's interesting is that it has some Quantum Leap and Star Trek Deep Space Nine actors in it. For instance, J.G. Hetzler, who played Martok in Deep Space Nine and was in Sea Bride as the dad in that Quantum Leap episode.
I didn't look into Zorro.
Yeah.
But
I just looked into it because I'm like, wait.
That's an extra level of...
Yeah. I just looked into it because I'm like, wait, I didn't know this show existed. Like, how did I miss this? But the reception...
You were too busy watching Quantum Leap.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the receptionist is saying that they will use up all their help vouchers in just like a short amount of time.
Right. So they learn a lot from this receptionist in passing that they probably should have already known all this. But this is where they learn they're going to be stuck in this house for 125 years. They only get 3 opportunities during this to meet with their caseworker, Juno, and they're about to use one up after only 2 months of being dead. And I found that as a interesting tidbit, like, oh, they've been dead 2 months already. I didn't appreciate the passage of 2 months of time have happened.
Right.
Now, behind the receptionist is the 3-fingered typist, which is a very interesting credit because she doesn't actually have a single line in this film.
Yes.
Yeah, she has a credit.
Ordinarily, when you don't have lines, you don't get credits.
Right. And I feel like this person must have meant to have a credit and they cut it or something. Like, I tried, because I had to look up, like, who is the 3-fingered typist? Because I wasn't even sure. Because I missed them.
Right.
And I looked it up, and I found that this is a big debated topic of the 3-finger typist, because why does this person have a credit? There's a lot of people in the room that don't have credits.
Well, you know what's funny is there's a movie called Batman Forever that has an actor in it that appeared in Deep Space Nine. That his role was completely cut from that film, and he still has a credit in that film.
Well, it's got to do with contract, right? If you have a contract for something, even if they cut your role, you're supposed to still get the credit.
Right. He's actually in the opening credits, big. Well, not like the opening credits, but as the credits stream along, he's there, but he does not actually appear in the film.
Yeah, I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking that's what happened here, because there's plenty of background throughout this scene and the other scenes that we spend in this realm. And, they don't have credits. But 3-finger typist did get a credit. And she's played by Cindy Daly, who was in 34 episodes of Days of Our Lives. And she was in the movie Carrie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's another one we should try to look into.
There's so many movies.
Yeah.
There's so many movies, so little time.
Yes. So Adam and Barb sit next to a bunch of ghoulish creatures, including a man with a shrunken head that's somewhat important.
Yeah, he comes back later, although he doesn't have a credit because he doesn't speak.
I think that character actually reprises his role in the new movie. The new trailer that did come out did show him there.
I didn't notice, but that wouldn't surprise me at all.
So the receptionist says how you died is ultimately how you looked. It's a very personal thing. A person who looks like he was been run over calls for them. He's played by Carmen Filippi.
This is the messenger, is how he's credited.
He also guest starred in the 2nd season Quantum Leap episode titled Maybe Baby.
Yes, he was the farmer?
Something along those lines.
That was how he was credited. I don't remember there being a farmer in that.
I don't really remember. I just remember seeing his credit. He died at the age of 80 on May 9th, 2003. He was already quite old in this movie.
He was also in Halloween 4.
Oh, okay.
He was in Bates Motel, the 1987 movie, not the series.
Oh, yeah, not the series. Okay.
And he was in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. He played Hobo Jack.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was going to say, like, wait, he was in Bates Motel? He
Yeah,
died in 2003.
Right,
How was that
not
possible?
the series. One of the many sequels was
gotcha.
called Bates Motel. It was, I don't know, part 3 or 4, or, you know, when they get into a series and they stop hitting numbers and they give it a name so that you'll never figure out how it plays. Yeah, it was in that. Before they leave, they also met Charman. Charman is just a burned up crisp who is chain smoking. And I'm assuming he died because he blew himself up smoking.
Right.
Or, like, fell asleep with a cigarette. I guess that's the idea behind him. And he offers Adam a cigarette. This is while Barbara's, like, sitting next to the shrunken head man. But Charman is played by Douglas Turner. And this is his only acting credit. But he's actually the construction supervisor on this film.
Oh, okay.
And other films. And he also is the creature shop supervisor for Little Monsters.
Okay.
You remember that movie?
Yeah.
So he's one of the people that works on these types of creatures, who, I don't know if he was just on set and they needed to put somebody in makeup and they picked him. I'm not sure, but...
So they pass a window that shows a realm of lost souls, a room for ghosts that have been exorcised or excised, or however you want to say that.
Right. So basically they're saying exorcism is real.
Yeah.
And if a ghost is exorcised, they end up here.
Yes.
Which is a bad place to be. It's death for the dead.
Yes.
And the janitor is who tells them this. The janitor is played by Simi Bo. He's also in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. He played Man in Diner in that film.
Okay. What a credit.
And he's in the original Rocky movie.
Oh, okay. So they walk through the door and end up back in their home.
Yeah,
Only
so
they
were told to go to door 6. So they walk through the hallway and it's this, like you said, really weird visuals the whole way. And after all that, they just ended up back home. It seems really silly they had to go through all of this just to get sent home. But it's been redecorated.
Yep.
The redecorating is done. And their caseworker, Juno, meets them there and says it took them 3 months to get here. So this walk down the hallway and the waiting room, the time they were in the waiting room, took them 3 months of real world time.
So she's played by Sylvia Sidney. She has 112 credits, 13 episodes of Fantasy Island, an episode of 30-something, and another Tim Burton movie called Mars Attacks.
Right.
She died on July 1st, 1999. She's fun in this movie. I really enjoyed it.
You know, I was impressed by her filmography. This woman acted for, I don't even know how many decades. Her credits went all the way back. Her first credit was in 1926. That's how long she was acting.
Do you want to try and find that movie and cover it?
She was in a movie called The Sorrows of Satan.
Oh, okay.
In 1926.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what?
And she had a busy, credits all the way through all of the eras.
Well, I definitely want to check out Sorrows for Satan. It sounds like an interesting movie.
I don't know about that.
So Barb tells her that they are unhappy, and Juno's like, basically, well, what do you expect? You're dead.
And she's kind of like, why are you bothering me, guys?
Right.
Like you should have been able to figure all this out on your own. Yeah. Didn't you read the handbook?
Right.
Everything you need to know is in that book.
They ask about Beetlejuice, and she doesn't even want to let them say his name. She strongly insists that they don't get his help. He happened to be her assistant at one point, and he was a troublemaker. The only way he can be brought back is by saying his name 3 times. If she doesn't want them to use their services, why is she even telling him this?
Because she wants them not to accidentally do it.
Gotcha.
I mean, she even says that. I don't want you to mess up again and accidentally summon him. So I'm going to tell you, don't do it.
But, so she strongly suggests that they do it themselves. Adam asks how they can contact her if they need her again, and she literally disappears in a puff of smoke.
Yeah, she's done with them. But they decide, they got what they needed from her. They got some confidence that they can be ghosts, and they decided to haunt the family on their own. Meanwhile, we see Beetlejuice. He's buried inside the model. That's where, and she told him, he's in your cemetery. And we found out she quite literally means the cemetery of this model.
Yep.
And, I'm still very confused. Why is he in the model? Why is that where he's trapped? How did that happen?
I think maybe he's just hanging out there because it's the place he's most likely to be noticed by the
But how did
Maitlands.
he put himself there if he can't put himself in the real world?
I have absolutely no idea.
Like the model world is extends to the afterworld.
I guess. I'm not really sure.
I was confused by that. Anyways, he catches a fly, and we see him doing, gross, disgusting things.
Yeah, Charles tries to convince a friend, Max, to come up and maybe sell the property.
Maxie Dean.
He's played by...
Maxie Dean is played by Robert Goulet.
That sounds right. Yeah, Goulet, I think.
One of those. He was in Scrooged.
Yes, I noticed that.
He's a famous singer. Mm-hmm. He did lots of singing. He also did Broadway work. Mm-hmm. He has a big IMDb list. But
Yep. So, anyway, Max ends up just basically hanging up on Charles.
Okay, so Charles had an idea, and this is what he's bringing to Maxie Dean. And his idea is, I can buy the town. Mm-hmm. He's trying to convince Maxie to invest in him in the town, and he wants to not only buy this house where he's just chosen to live because he's going to just chill here, but now he's been using binoculars and he's been checking out the town, and he thinks he can buy the entire town because these people don't know the value of their homes. They haven't learned they live in Connecticut yet, apparently, and they don't know the value of their homes. So he wants to buy the entire town and use it to his financial advantage. Yeah. And this particularly is where I went, oh, again, this is reminding me of Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
Where we're talking about a rich family buying a town.
It's funny. It's funny you keep bringing up Schitt's Creek because I never actually saw the show.
You haven't?
No.
Oh, I recommend it. It's funny.
My boss has, and she will continually refer to me as David.
Yeah.
Because one of the characters gets referred to that way.
So if you've never seen it, the basic premise of the show is they are the super rich family, right? Mm-hmm. They're very similar to the Dietzes.
Right.
Delia's character is very similar to the Moira Rose, O'Hara's character in that. Mm. And they lose all their money. But one of the assets they didn't lose is at some point along the way, they bought the town of Schitt's Creek. Like, they bought the deed to the town. Okay. Because they thought it was funny. Schitt's Creek. So they own that. That's one of the only assets they still own. So they go to live there. And they don't actually, own the property. They just, own the rights to the... It's kind of weird. But this reminded me of that. He's talking about buying the town. And that's literally, where we start off in Schitt's Creek is they bought the town.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, this is kind of, really the same story. Where this weird rich family just wants to buy a town because they can.
All right. And I heard that, the first season, it's hard to because the characters are so unlikable at the start that it's kind of hard to watch a show because of that.
It's a great show. Go watch it. It's a great show. It's a great show.
I've been meaning to because I want to understand my boss's reference. But
yeah, Charles is trying to convince Max to come to Connecticut for himself, see the town, and bring Sarah. Sarah's his wife. I take it she's the one who has the power.
Yeah.
Because they want to get Sarah there is their big thing. And Max is just kind of nah, I'm not interested in owning a town in the middle of nowhere.
Meanwhile...
Because he apparently doesn't know it's Connecticut yet either.
Right.
Connecticut apparently is not a thing yet.
I guess not. So Adam and Barb try haunting the family wearing ghostly sheets. But it's not accomplishing very much. Nobody's particularly
And you know what's funny is they're not even using plain white sheets. They're sheets that have patterns on them.
So Lydia starts taking pictures of them and realizes from the photos that they are no longer alive.
At first, she thought it was her parents.
Doing some freaky, stuff.
Yeah. And,
which, by the way, I don't want to imagine.
Charles actually saw the ghost, too. Mm-hmm. And he saw one of them. He thought it was Lydia.
Right.
So they of course, assume, it's the other people in the house that's just being stupid. Meanwhile, Delia is the one they're trying to scare. She took some pills, so she's out. She's not going to get any of this. But yeah, Lydia takes the picture.
Yep.
And she notices, wait a minute.
I can't see their feet.
You guys don't have feet. And she's the smart one of the family.
Yes.
And she quickly puts together, you're the ghosts from the attic.
Yeah, you're the ones that have been hiding out in the attic. And a beautiful friendship begins.
Yeah, and she's not scared of them at all. She wants to know what's under the... Why do you got sheets on? Do you look weird under there? She asked if they're the living dead. We get a reference to another classic movie there.
Lydia tells Delia, who has... so after this, Lydia tells Delia about the ghosts, and she's completely unmoved about the talk of haunting and all that stuff.
Oh, well, I do want to bring up the fact that, yes, Lydia can see them. It's a big deal to the Maitlands because nobody's seen them before.
Right.
Now, she tells them that, remember, they've been gone for 3 months. And right before they left, I don't think we actually mentioned it, Lydia did manage to get into the attic, or like right after they left, she managed to get into the attic, and she read the handbook because they left it sitting in the attic.
Yeah. Yep.
So she tells them, I read the book, and the reason I can see you is because I myself am strange and unusual. And the reason that living people can't see ghosts is because they can't accept the strange and unusual. Because I'm strange and unusual, I accept you, and therefore I can see you. Like, it's not a big deal to me. Like, yeah, you're a ghost, cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's the situation now, is she has this direct link to them. And they bring her to see the model, and they talk about it, and, they explain to her that they just want the family to leave because they want their house back. So she's kind of trying to help them at this point, right? So she goes and she's trying to tell Delia about the ghost. And Delia, which is actually not her mother, it's her stepmother, so they don't have a great relationship. And she's trying to tell her about the ghost, but she's too busy cooking for a dinner party. She says she's got 7 people to cook for tonight, including her agent Bernard, who's bringing a woman who writes for Art in America. So she's trying to impress these people. And we learned at the beginning that she's not a very good cook, so I'm not sure why she's cooking and not hiring somebody if she wants to impress these people.
You would think that she would do that, but in fact, these people seem kind of well off, so you'd imagine they would have some kind of cook on staff.
Or why is she not making Otho do it? Because she seems to make him do everything.
Adam and Barb notice Beetlejuice roaming in Adam's model. Barb says the name twice, and they find themselves transported into the model. They have to dig him up, and we see the character of Beetlejuice for the first time properly. And, he's going through all these Beetlejuice, Michael Keaton antics.
Yeah, and he's proves himself to be this pretty gross, disgusting person.
Yes.
He kisses Barbara on the lips, asks Adam if he has a shot with her.
Right.
That seems like a bad idea.
Adam asks about his qualifications to do this haunting, and Beetlejuice gives a speech where he mentions he's seen The Exorcist 166 times, and it gets funnier every time he sees it.
I have 167.
That's what I said. That's what I have in my notes too. What did I just say?
166.
Oh,
you missed one.
Really weird that I did that, but okay.
He also lived through the Black Plague, so of course he knows how to scare people.
Yes.
Yeah.
The couple eventually want to leave. They don't find Beetlejuice.
Yeah, they realize they made a mistake, right? They're very wishy-washy in this. They keep kind of bouncing back and forth between, Beetlejuice is bad, we don't want to deal with him, and, he can help us, let's go to him.
So they only mention his name twice, correct?
No.
They do mention him 3 times?
They do. So she said it twice, and then like a minute later, she says it the 3rd time.
Gotcha.
She didn't say Beetlejuice, 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 but the name was said 3 times throughout the conversation.
I was really confused why Beetlejuice was suddenly able to haunt the family later, because I'm like, wait, they didn't say his name 3 times.
Yeah, no, they did here. But yeah, it's a little confusing how it works.
Right.
Right? It's like, because it didn't bring him out, it brought them in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really understand the dynamics of the model itself. The model confuses me of how that is involved in all this. But yeah, they were like, no, she says, I'm not going to expose that little girl to that pervert down there, referring, of course, to Lydia. They refer to Lydia as a little girl a lot in this movie, and that kind of weirded me out a little bit. She's not a little girl.
She's like 16.
Well, I looked it up. The character of Lydia is supposed to be 15 years old.
Okay. She definitely seems older than that. She was probably... the actual actress was probably in her 20s at the
Winona
time.
Ryder was 16.
She was?
She was.
Okay, so she
and that's why it's so weird, right? Because it's Winona Ryder.
Right.
Like, we've watched her entire life, right? And she always looks the same.
Right.
Like if you look like that and now, like, she's aged, obviously, but it doesn't look like she's aged 40 years.
No, definitely not. But I mean, that's true of a lot of people in Hollywood because, they have money and they can spend money on plastic surgery and all that.
And they kept calling her little girl, and I was like, how old is she supposed to be? Because I feel so conflicted about her character, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's Winona Ryder. And she's definitely not a little girl, but she's not old either. She's supposed to be 15.
Yeah, they're talking about her like she's like 9.
Right. Throughout the whole movie they do that. Until, of course, we're putting her in a wedding. It's very, very conflicting.
Right.
But yeah, they don't want to expose her to that pervert, and he was very perverted and being just kind of pretty all over gross.
So, I mean, I guess he lacked social skills and
he sure does.
Salesman skills and customer service skills.
He's not very good at anything.
No. He is good at being a nuisance, that's for sure. So the couple does not like Beetlejuice very much, and Barb has an idea for scaring them off themselves. The Dietz family.
Again, they think they can do it themselves, being very wishy-washy of if they need help or not.
The Dietz family has dinner, and in the scene we have Delia's agent, Bernard, played by Dick Cavett, whose claim to fame was actually as a talk show host.
Yeah, he was a very, very famous talk show host. I noticed most of his acting roles, he played himself. He played himself so many times, including things like Forrest Gump, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, which I don't remember that, but okay. Cheers, he played himself in.
He was also in an episode of The Simpsons.
Yeah, lots of things.
Yeah. And then there's Susan Kellerman as Grace, 54 credits for her, including Monk. The Devil's Advocate, which is a movie I also has Jeffrey Jones in it, by the way. And I was kind of curious. I was kind of looking to see if we could look into that, but of course it's not currently available, not for free anyway. And Death Becomes Her, which is something that people recommended us to.
Death Becomes Her. Yeah. She's also in the movie Heart and Souls. I love that film. I know we've talked about that one a few times.
Yes, it has come up in our podcast.
And she's also in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Okay, cool. Otho was into the paranormal, and Lydia says that she saw some ghosts, and thus begins probably one of the most iconic scenes in the film.
You did miss one character.
I did?
Burl. She's played by Adele Lutz.
Okay.
And she has appearances in Silence of the Lambs, Wall Street, and she worked as a costume designer.
Oh, cool.
On a lot of stuff. Yeah, so she's the other dinner party guest.
Yeah, so the family is forced to sing a Harry Belafonte song, the Banana Boat song, which, if YouTube lets me do it, is going to be my intro. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe
15
seconds.
15 seconds. I'm gonna try it.
It's gonna be trial and error for that one.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it works.
Yeah,
but,
Deo. Yeah. Deo is the song. So, yeah, it's a fun scene, right? This is, of course, what I remember. Like, everybody remembers this.
Right, of course. It's an iconic scene.
Where, Delia's trying to... They're talking about ghosts, and she's so desperately trying to change the topic. She doesn't want them to think her house is haunted. She doesn't want them to think her stepdaughter's crazy. And she's just trying to change the subject, trying to talk about her art, because she's trying to get back into art, right? She wants to keep doing her sculpting or whatever she does. And, she's just suddenly picked up out of her chair, and she starts singing... Or it's the voice throwing stuff they're not actually seeing, but we talked about voice throwing with Beetlejuice already. That's come up a couple times, I think, already in the film. And she's just, everyone's looking at her like, what are you doing? And then suddenly, the entire party gets involved, and they're flinging around their napkins, right? Which are again black and white striped. Everything matches Beetlejuice throughout this entire film, even though he has nothing to do with what's happening right now.
Right.
And then everybody's dancing, and it's this whole, big cabaret moment.
And, yeah, the Banana Boat song is pretty famous, and it's a fun song that I think they still use it in things, even to this day.
Oh, sure.
Harry Belafonte is, I think, deceased at this point. I forgot to take note of when he passed, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty recently that he went.
I am curious how the two ghosts did pull this off.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Because it's involving 6 people at the same time.
Right.
I'm not sure how they went from we don't know how to do anything
to being able to pull this
scene off.
Yeah. I'm very curious about the logistics myself.
I would have liked to have seen them cutting in and out of showing us them doing their thing,
running around basically, switching between the two of them.
Right.
Yeah. So when
that would have been a fun alternate cut here.
Too bad they can't do that now. I mean, they could bring back Gina Davis, and
they're not going to.
No, of course not. So when the performance is over, Barb and Adam celebrate, thinking, "Hey, they've won. They're going to certainly be afraid now, and they're going to run out." But then they get a knock at the door. It reveals Lydia. The family actually wants to see them now. The family is super excited. Otho thinks this is enough to get Max up here.
Yeah, because now they all believe in the ghost. They know it's real, and they think it's a cool party trick, and they think that they're going to be able to monopolize from this and get rich.
Lydia comes down to tell them that they are not coming, and this seems to break up the party. Far from being scared, Delia goes up and knocks on the door, trying to harass the couple.
Yeah, everybody left. Like Bernard and those other two women left. Otho stayed. He's I think he's living here now. Maybe.
Yep.
He's just like around from now on
until basically towards the end of the film.
Right.
They finally get into the attic. Charles is impressed by the model, and Otho grabs the deceased person's handbook.
Yeah, he steals the book. Now so the book has a physical presence because he's able to steal it. Now Lydia read it, but I thought it was just because she can see the ghosts.
Right.
Is why I thought she can see the handbook and can read it. But the fact that he's able to steal it means it's physically present in the real world.
And able to be seen by just anyone?
Right. So why have these not been discovered everywhere?
Yeah,
every dead person gets a copy of this book and it exists in the real world.
Why have I not stumbled upon this book?
Well, I'm sure you actually have, because it's a pretty famous prop now.
Oh, yeah. So
that seemed weird to me, like, oh, it's just a physical book.
Right. It seems like if this is from the afterlife, then you don't want this to be seen by anyone.
Right, and that's one of the things Juno's going to yell at them about, is because they let him steal the book. Well, where are the millions of other books if they physically exist? Like, how are they hidden?
So, meanwhile, Beetlejuice is laughing at the couple who's hanging out the window to not be seen. They can't be seen by anyone other than Lydia, so they could just be like...
But they're hiding.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe because they believe in them now's when they'd be able to see them?
Maybe that's never really made clear.
Yeah, I mean, they see them at the very end. But
right.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So Charles is thinking amusement parks. They can just bring people over, and they'll make all sorts of money. When Beetlejuice decides to screw with them,
he decides to step in. He realizes even though they don't want his help, he's gonna prove himself. He's gonna haunt these people. He's gonna get rid of them. He turns into a giant snake creature, which is not my favorite thing in the world.
No, I know that you're not a fan.
I have big snake problems. Okay?
Right.
Like an insane phobia. Like, I can't look at pictures of snakes.
Yes. It doesn't help that it's not a snake, but actually Beetlejuice.
It's not as bad as,
Yeah, gotcha.
a more realistic depiction. But yeah, he turns into this giant snake creature.
He drops Charles from, like...
He throws Otho down the stairs and then drops Charles, like, over the balcony, down 2 flights.
That should have killed him.
Could have killed him.
It should have. Or at least broken some bones.
Which is why, people get mad at him.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't nice.
Yeah.
That's not scaring them. That's like...
trying to kill them?
Yeah.
Barb appears to say his name 3 times, and he ends up disappearing.
Yeah, it sends him back into the model.
But Lydia thinks that Barb had something to do with it, and now she's upset with the both of them. Adam and Barb think this is good news. Well, actually, Adam thinks this is good news, but Barb is not happy. Beetlejuice is pissed because they had a deal, and he's got a new crush on Lydia, which makes Barb super angry. Suddenly a strip club appears, drawing Beetlejuice's attention.
This is Dante's Inferno room.
And,
I'm pretty sure it's more than a strip club.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to dig into that too much. But, basically, Barb was like, why did you build that? And Adam was like, I didn't.
Right, and that's when...
Likely story, Adam.
They are transported back to Juno's office, and she says it was her idea to do that, to get rid of Beetlejuice, to get him out of the picture, because she knew that would work on him.
So, basically Juno says they let Beetlejuice out and didn't put him back, except just recently, allowed themselves to be photographed, and Otho now has the book. Lydia has decided to unalive herself and is writing a letter. And she's like basically editing as she goes to make it more dramatic.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we see Juno. She's dealing with this group of football players. So I'm going to shout out those credits. We have a dumb football player played by Gary Joachimson. I probably got that wrong. He was in 2 episodes of Matlock. We have a dumb football player at number 2 played by Bob Patterson. This is his only credit. And then, I think this isn't until the next scene, but I'm going to just do it now. We have a very dumb football player. He's played by Dwayne Davis, who actually has a bit more of a career than these other football players. He was in 22 episodes of Team Knight Rider, which I guess is a Knight Rider spinoff.
I had never heard of that.
Never heard of it either, but he was in 22 episodes of it. He's in the movie Summer School.
Okay. I do recognize that.
I remember he's like the guy that was spent the whole summer in the bathroom.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I love that movie. We should do that one for next summer. It's too late to do it for this summer because we're spending our summer doing fall.
Right.
And he was in Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
So where am I in my notes?
You jumped ahead from my notes a little bit. So let me see. Okay, football players. Charles, something about Charles. Charles wonders if this is a bad idea. I'm not sure what he's wondering. Oh, he's questioning, were we right to come here? You know, maybe we made a mistake. This isn't good for, This isn't good for Lydia. But Delia tells him, no, you never have a bad idea. You were right. This is where we belong.
I basically skipped that scene. Yeah, entirely. I was like, all right, this is getting long, so maybe I should cut some things out.
Yeah, this is where we learned that Maxie Dean is coming tonight. The Deans are coming. And we also learned that Otho claims to know as much about supernatural things as he does about interior design.
Well.
Which is a questionable amount.
So Juno wants them to get the deets out no matter what it takes. She makes them show what they're going to do. Problemo, I have a little bit of an issue here.
Because they can't see you?
Right. And it's never been established that they can. So why can they all of a sudden...
Yeah. So suddenly their plan is to do visual stuff. And we get this iconic depiction of the Maitlands. This is how, Maitland's Halloween costumes. This is the costume people wear. It's these creatures. I called them pointy bird faces.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an accurate depiction, but everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah. So I'm just kind of curious. Did Juno make it so that they could be seen?
Yeah. This is
what's the deal?
This is why I'm questioning. Like, maybe they can see them now that they believe in them.
Yeah, I got you.
But yeah, it never actually said that specifically.
Right.
But maybe that's what's happening. So that now because before it was told, of course, they can't see you when you're doing stuff with your body because they can't see you. But now it's like, oh, cool, you're doing stuff with your body. That'll scare them.
Right. Yeah, that was exactly like, I'm confused here. So Lydia goes and tries to see Barb and Adam, but she ends up meeting Beetlejuice in the model. She wants to convince her to say his name. He wants her to convince her to say his name 3 times, but he can't tell her what the actual name is.
Right. He's not allowed to say his name, but if you say my name 3 times... I'm going to come help you find Barbara, because she's looking for Barbara.
So they play guessing games, charades, basically. He gets her to say beetle, because he makes a visual aid of a beetle. Gets her to say once the total name.
Don't skip over the orange juice. Okay. That's probably the funniest moment of the whole movie. Is his visual for juice is orange juice, and it's like this 3D visual effect of orange juice being poured in a glass. And she says every word in the world besides juice. She's like, breakfast, beetle, breakfast, orange beetle. And it's like, why would you say breakfast before you say juice? It's not a breakfast. It's just a glass of juice.
Right.
But yeah, that's a
memorable
moment.
She's not great at charades.
She's not great at charades. No. But yeah, it took her a little while to get to Beetlejuice. But then yes, she figured it out. She says it twice, and then she realizes, because remember, Lydia's the smart one.
Right.
She realizes he was the snake, and she doesn't want to release him.
And on the way back from the afterworld, I guess, Barb reveals her attachment to Lydia, saying she wants to be with Lydia, and she now no longer wants to haunt the Deets.
Right, they made a decision on their way, 10 feet down the hall, that they're going to let them stay. They don't want to scare them anymore. So why don't you turn off your scary face before you walk through the door? But they didn't think to do that, because remember, they're not the bright ones.
Right.
They walk through the door still in their scary face, scare Lydia.
Right. Yeah, they get back just in time to stop Lydia from saying Beetlejuice the 3rd time. They talk Lydia out of unaliving herself, saying it doesn't really solve anything. Your problems do not end there. When Charles and Otho come in, they take the model to do a presentation for Max. Max's wife is played by Marie Cheatham, who was in a Quantum Leap episode that we covered, Play Ball.
Yes, she played Margaret Twill. That was
she was the owner.
The owner. I was going to say manager.
The one that wants to sleep with Sam.
Yeah, she has a very central role in that episode. Yep. She's also in 8 episodes of Heart of Dixie. 372 episodes of Days of Our Lives.
That's absurd.
That's a lot of episodes, but when the total's
thousands,
multiple digit thousands,
yeah. So Lydia tells them they are cool with the family living there as long as they don't make them do stupid tricks. But Otho has a plan to make them.
Yeah, I mean, that's all they care about is them doing stupid tricks.
Right. Yeah. He has a plan thanks to the deceased handbook. Lydia objects, but he's like, "You're Otho. You don't know what you're doing. There's no way you're going to pull this off." So she's not even going to worry about it. But he says he needs something personal of theirs, and Delia remembers the wedding clothes from the closet. Otho begins reading the book. The lights go out. There's a storm. Upstairs, Barb disappears and slowly appears in her dress.
Yeah, she rises into her wedding dress, and then she begins to age, and then
she's starting to wither.
Her body is rotting. So, did they physically bring her body there?
I'm not totally clear what's going
her
on.
I've been dead for 5 months body.
Yeah, maybe
because the body's deteriorating,
right,
and not looking so great.
So Lydia tells them to stop, and then as Adam talks.
Adam's still in the attic.
Yeah,
He becomes non-corporeal. He can't open the door anymore. And then eventually he's risen into his talks as well. He starts deteriorating just like Barbara, but at a slower rate because she got a head start.
So now Charles is like, okay, that's enough. Please stop this.
Right. They realize hey, we don't actually want to kill these ghosts.
Right.
Like maybe this is a bad idea.
So, but Otho is like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to stop this because they don't even know what they're doing in the
right.
first
They're
place.
doing some ritual and yeah.
Lydia in desperation goes to Beetlejuice. And he wants out permanently. And the way to do that is to get married.
Right. If he gets married, he can be permanently released. Why? I don't know.
Yep. That's just Tim Burton's random rule.
Well, I guess in the script, I read this tidbit that he wanted out. He wanted to sleep with Lydia. That was his goal in life.
Okay.
Was to get her in bed. It had nothing to do with
getting married.
He wanted to marry her so he could sleep with her.
Ah.
It had nothing to do with being released.
Well, I call him
But they kind of
bad names. But...
They pulled back on that.
Gotcha.
And I think that was the right decision.
Yeah, I think that would have been just a bridge too far.
They made it obvious he's into her.
Yeah.
But she's also 15.
Right.
So they did pull back on it a little bit and be like, hey, I need to marry you so I can be released. And, it's just a marriage of convenience.
So she ends up saying it 3 times. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. He emerges from the model and begins his shenanigans. He sends Max and his wife flying out of the house via, basically it's one of those carnival things.
Yeah, he's risen out of the model. And remember, the model at this point, they're using it in their presentation. So the model is how we're going to take the town and change it into an amusement park, basically, including they're going to turn the hardware store into an insect zoo. They had plans for every building in the town. So when he rises up out of the model, he now has a carousel on his head, and I'm pretty sure that was part of the model. That there's going to be a carousel here, so that's how that ends up on his head. And then he turns his arms into funhouse hammers, right? So these 2 funhouse hammer things appear, and he uses that and he knocks the Deans right out of the house. They go right through the roof.
Right.
So he's playing into the whole theme park, amusement park.
That Charles is trying to get going.
Right. Right.
So he makes Barb and Adam fall into bones. Otho tries to leave, but not before having his suit stripped. It's weird though because it's his suit is stripped and then he still seems to be wearing a suit.
Okay, so...
But he acts like he's naked.
No, he's mortified because he went from his designer clothes into a polyester suit.
Oh, yeah, okay. I did not get that at all.
Yeah, and Beetlejuice kissed him, so he's running away.
Yeah, I would too. Barb and Adam start to slowly recover, and then he calls for Lydia to be his wife.
And he also imprisoned the Dietzes so they can't get involved with the statues.
He basically makes her be witnesses. A creature thing is there to be a priest.
This is the preacher. Preacher creature.
Yeah, preacher creature.
Physically, his body is played by Tony Cox, and this is an actually recognizable actor.
Tony Cox, yeah, I recognize him.
He was in Spaceballs. He was in Bad Santa.
Yeah, okay. He's the little guy.
Yeah, the little black guy.
Yeah, okay. He was actually in the sequel as well.
Right. So he's the physical body of the preacher, but not the voice.
Gotcha.
The voice of the preacher is played by Jack Angel.
Okay.
Who's a voice actor. He was the voice of Papa Smurf in a million different Smurfs projects.
Oh, wow.
He was the radish spirit in Spirited Away.
Okay.
And he was in like hundreds of 80s and 90s cartoons. Like he was a big voice actor of the time. So they had him do the voice of the preacher.
Okay. So Lydia tries to say Beetlejuice, but he...
Yeah, so so the Maitlands are slowly coming back to normal. Like, Beetlejuice did whatever he did. It released them from the ritual, and it's taking time, though, so they're coming back. So Lydia's like, okay, cool, I got what I wanted from you. I'm not going to marry you.
Right.
So she's trying to send him back. She's like, yeah, psych, no, we're not getting married. I'm going to send you back where you came from. And,
yeah, he covers her mouth.
Speak. And then throws her voice to give her consent to the marriage.
And Adam has recovered sufficiently to try and say Beetlejuice himself, but Beetlejuice makes his mouth fall out. His mouth tries to say Beetlejuice, but Beetlejuice ends up stomping on him, and he ends up getting sent into the bottle.
Beetlejuice sends Adam into the model, and then Barbara tries. He puts a metal plate over her mouth so she can't speak.
She actually does get it out twice before she gets sent to the desert.
But the same person has to say it 3 times is what's happening here. So he's stopping everybody from saying his name. Yeah, she's sent to the desert, and so Adam and Barbara both are
taken out of the picture.
They're not here, but they're both still they're finally like learn how to do shit, right? Mm-hmm. They're being productive. Adam drives the truck because he ends up next to this truck in the model, and he drives it across the model onto the floor and hits Beetlejuice in the foot with it.
Yeah,
which doesn't seem like it should do much, but
it creates a distraction.
Yeah, it put him off kilter. And then Barbara rides the sandworm, which she somehow managed to harness and mount and figured out how to drive it through the door into the real world, and it comes crashing down through the roof of the house and takes out Beetlejuice.
They all hug and embrace, and then we cut to Lydia getting out of school. She goes home, and we have a brief scene where we see...
the house has been restored.
Yes.
It's no longer the fancy pants house. It's been returned to the Maitlands version.
And we have a brief scene with Charles and Delia, and Delia ends up scaring the crap out of Charles with a Beetlejuice statue. He basically flies backward, and she's like, I think he likes it. And then we cut to...
And we learn that Lydia got a C in science because she refused to dissect a frog. That seems weird to me. Why are you refusing to dissect a frog?
I wouldn't want to do it.
I know, but she's like into creepy stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But she got an A on her math test, so she does get rewarded.
Yep. She basically gets a chance to do a little dance routine. Another Harry Belafonte song. It's not the same one as before. It's not the Banana song. It's a different one.
This is Jump in the Line.
Yes. Lydia is floated into the air as she dances and sings. The family is living with them in peace now. Beetlejuice is in the waiting room.
Yeah, so we see Beetlejuice again. He's in the afterlife waiting room. Shrunken head dude's still there. He hasn't been seen yet. Medicine Man, I don't know if that's his, that's what I called him. Is that who is it that shrinks heads? It's a head shrinker, I guess.
Something like that.
I called him Medicine Man. I don't know if that's appropriate.
It'd be like a new person, or
it's the the tribal dude that shrunk the head.
Yes.
So Beetlejuice steals his number, which is number 4, instead of the million and something number that he had, and the guy responds by sprinkling magic dust on Beetlejuice's head to shrink his head as well.
Notably, in the trailers for the new movie, his head is not shrunken.
Yeah, so
he must have gotten that fixed.
He got it fixed. And then we see the football players join Lydia in her dance.
Yep.
Which I thought was a little kooky. Are they not trapped somewhere for 125 years after their death?
I thought so. Maybe it would like haunt the bus or something like
that.
But
they are free to come join her for a dance in the house.
Yep, and that is where the movie ends.
That's where the movie ends. And I do have a few uncredited credits.
Okay.
So I'm just going to run through those first. There was a dancer at Dante's. Remember, that was not a strip club. She was played by Christine Bridges. She was also in the film The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. So she has a style.
She was familiar with that then, I guess.
We have the Afterlife announcer, was played by Judy M. Durand.
Okay, that
who
sounds
was
familiar.
in one episode of The Walking Dead. It's familiar to you because she plays the Cardassian computer voice on DS9, as well as a bunch of other Star Trek stuffs. She was also in one episode of X-Files.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, look her up. I'm sure you know her.
Yeah.
And then we have The Hanging Man, played by Charles Schneider. He has 26 credits, mostly a lot of B-horror I've never heard of. And this is a weird credit. We have a credit of Skeleton.
Okay.
Played by Skeleton.
Interesting.
Who has 9 credits.
How?
I don't...
What?
Horror movies? I was really confused. I tried looking at this. I'm like, is this an actual skeleton? Like an actual, like...
A prop?
Tracked skeleton that we know is the same one that was in all these movies.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get anywhere, though. I think it's just somebody being funny.
Okay.
I don't know. If anybody knows anything about the IMDb credit for Skeleton, I'm actually super curious.
Ah, yes, me too.
We found an IMDb credit for Cat.
Yeah.
In another movie we're covering this month. I was surprised by that one. Somebody got that to go through, because that's definitely against IMDb regulations. Like, they have a lot of rules. Like, I've been putting our show on IMDb, so yes. I have a new appreciation for how some of this works and how some credits end up being weird and kooky and how some things are not, they don't make sense and it's ununiform from one thing to another. And I get it now because I'm working in it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know how credit for Skeleton exists. I don't understand that at all.
That's funny. Okay, well, yeah, that's the movie.
And that's that. Yeah. And I wasn't... Beetlejuice was not on my radar, but now that we've dove into this, I do want to watch it and see where they go next with the story.
You could always do some, mini review of it.
Yeah, we'll have to see. As of when this comes out, we'll know more than we do now. We don't know much right now, because it's not out yet.
If we're going to do it, we will likely already have done it.
Right.
So you'll know if it's on our channel or not. But yeah, I mean...
Well, so I would suggest, if we do, we have to watch it. We're not going to be able to cover it scene by scene.
No, we won't be able to do that.
We would be watching it in a theater, which...
Right.
Yeah, it's a very different process. And then maybe we could do some kind of mini review to release right after this.
Yes, okay.
Or something.
Yeah, I mean, we should probably do it, when the movie is out.
So you want to actually have it released first?
Yeah, I mean, because...
More time travel, folks!
Right, because, if you release it after... it's not really relevant anymore. I get it. Unless you're doing, a deeper dive, which we're not going to do.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Check out our channel.
Yeah.
Check out everything on our channel, because we have lots of amazing things. Mm-hmm. In addition to horror and Halloween movies all month long, we are currently covering Season 3 of From, which is amazing!
I mean, I hope that's
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But it's amazing!
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great show.
And we're currently covering it in the future when you're listening to this.
I mean, I hope From is out by October. We don't have a release date.
It should be.
Yeah.
It will be. Yeah.
Okay.
At least it'll have started, right? And we're also currently covering Season 3 of Sullivan's Crossing.
Yes, that is definitely out. We know that.
Or Season 2.
Season 2.
Season 2. 2 of Sullivan's Crossing, 3 of From. Yeah. Check those out. Great shows.
Yep.
Check out Quantum Leap. We cover classic Quantum here. We have also covered the entirety of the Revival series, which lasted for 2 seasons, and we have so many other great things on the channel. So check it all out. Give us your comments. Let us know what you think about everything.
Yeah, basically, we usually do shout-outs to people's comments. We haven't been able to do that with the movies because this is way in the future that we recorded this, or way in the past, I should say.
Time travel.
Yeah, so if you leave comments and we get a bunch of comments, we will do a separate video
somewhere.
Yeah, we'll eventually do something.
Yeah, we will address your comments. So to give us some, please.
Yes, absolutely. All right, we would like to hear from you. What did you think of the podcast? What did you think of the movie? Stacie, we reached at?
I can reach out on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Threads at TVN Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join one of my Core Productions Facebook pages. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a copy. You can join the Core Productions membership for 99 cents a month. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribing to our channel and hitting the bell so you get notified when new content drops. This is Dave and Stacie from Core Productions signing off.